in the words of the Nielsen CEO, quote, Chicago is a really good place to have a corporate headquarters, end quote. And we agree.
You always say that. All right.
She is. She's like always saying that's Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
How's it going? Your Ben Joravsky Show is just moments away. But before we do this, we need to thank our sponsors. Sponsors like SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana. The Chicago Federation of Labor are sponsors. The Chicago Teachers Union, they are sponsors. Also, Chicago Reader. ChicagoReader.com for all things there is to know the city of Chicago, where to go, what to do, what to eat, what to drink, what kind of marijuana to put in your arm or I don't know what I'm talking about.
Arm?
Like lotion. Like they have like pot lotion now. You can rub it into your arm and smoke it and eat it and all kinds of stuff. Find out what to do with marijuana in 2021 in Chicago Reader. ChicagoReader.com. And if you want to help out this program, you can. ChicagoReader.com/Joravsky. Jora. V as in victory. SKY. It is Thursday, October 7th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. He's not in his attic. He's in his Airbnb. I said his attic. Today on the program, it's the Wild Wild West today, people. Marc Sims and Adolfo Mondragon. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Yeah, hello everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Sox versus Cubs Thursday, and here's why. Great article in the New York Times the other day, ladies and gentlemen. Great article about my beloved Chicago White Sox. Let me just say this before I get into that. As everybody knows, listen to this show. I'm not one of those Chicago. It's Marc Sims has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. Marc Sims has joined us. Love when my guests show up. Anyway. As I've said many times in the show, I'm not one of those people who lives in Chicago. They're like, oh, I'm a Northsider. I like the Cubs. Or I'm a Southsider. I like the White Sox. Maybe you had a story today like White Sox fans are tough. They're tougher than Cubs fans. I like them both. But things have changed. I used to like them both. I'm so turned off by the politics of the Ricketts that I can no longer like the Cubs. Okay, so I'll give you a case in point to illustrate a tale of two cities when it comes to baseball teams in the city of Chicago. My beloved Chicago White Sox are in the playoffs. They're playing in a couple hours. I want to say baseball time. We'll be talking about that with Adolfo Mondragon a little bit before we get into politics with him. The White Sox will be playing Houston Astros, Dusty Baker versus Tony La Russa. Great battle between old managers. They're both in their 70s. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Two managers in baseball who are older than I am.
Oh, geezer games.
So anyway, there was an article in the New York Times talking about the culture of the Chicago White Sox and talking about the fact that there were so many players on the Chicago White Sox from Latino countries, Hispanic countries, Spanish-speaking countries from around the world. And how they've like a dominant culture in the team, and their people, the music that the players listen to reflects the different cultures from the different countries that different players come from, et cetera, and so forth. So it's like a great article talking about how, at least in one baseball team in the city of Chicago, the Chicago White Sox, everybody's getting along. And Tim Anderson is talking about the one black player on the team from Alabama, how it's not, his culture is not that much different than the cultures of the black guys who are from Cuba or the Dominican, et cetera. It's a really uplifting story about people getting along for once, from different backgrounds. You know, remember back in the 2015 election, Marc Sims knows what I'm talking about. There was a Hispanic guy running for mayor of the city of Chicago. So many black people were telling me, I can't vote for him. Remember that? Jesus Chuy Garcia. So overwhelming, well, not overwhelming, but well over 50% of the black vote on the south and west sides went to Rahm Emanuel. Anyway, on the White Sox, everybody seems to be getting along. So that was a really uplifting article in the New York Times. Really appreciated it. Then Frank, our dear friend Frank, a great listener to the show, a great friend of the show, sent me a text which showed a group of Republican governors at the border in Texas with Governor Abbott and about, I forget how many of the governors, I don't have it right in front of me, but like 4 of them aren't from border states. They just showed up. Like at the border, there's a crisis at the border. We must protect and defend our borders. We must put that wall there because people are coming into this country and it's scary. So while the White Sox are promoting a sense of brotherhood, a sense of camaraderie, a sense that it doesn't really matter where we come from, we're all human beings, we can all get along and succeed together and excel. The Chicago Cubs are owned by the Ricketts. And one of the governors who was at that border just emanating hate for people who are different was Pete Ricketts from Nebraska, one of the owners of the Cubs. And that's why it's so freaking hard to continue to root for the Cubs, because that ownership of that team is all about just vibrating hatred. And then whenever they get called on it, they go, "Oh no, we don't really feel that way. We love our Latino ball players." Meanwhile, at the border, we're going to protect you. So yes, I have based on that article that was in the New York Times, a trivia question for Adolfo Mondragon when he comes in the show about the White Sox. So stay tuned for that. So thank you, Frank, for sending me that clipping or whatever that was of the Republican governors at the border. Just so bizarre. The Republican governors, I don't know, Nebraska, all these states that are nowhere near the border, showing up as though somehow or other their states, their people are under siege. And as a sign of appreciation, I told Frank I would do this. I'm going to now lose every listener I ever have by explaining how TIF works.
Wait, hold on. You didn't run this by me. Lose every listener we have. What are you doing?
So I'll explain this. I'm going to explain how a TIF works. And folks who read me in the Chicago Reader know I've been explaining TIFs for about 20 years now. And for about 20 years, my readers have been telling me, "I bet I just don't get it." And I don't have a lot of tolerance, D. I got to explain this, and Mark Sims knows what I'm talking about. I don't have a lot of tolerance for listeners who don't get my explanations of TIFs, because it's sort of like, wait, I'm not doing a good job of explaining it is possible. But the other thing is, I think just being willfully ignorant. Now, the world is filled with complicated things that I don't understand. For instance, right now, for reasons I will never know, my headphones aren't working. Dr. D is going, "No, don't shatter the fourth wall." But it's true. My headphones are working. And there's some kind of glitch in the system, a technological glitch in the system. So whenever I look at my computer and try to figure out what that glitch is, my mind just blanks. Can't deal with it. So maybe people with TIFs have a similar reaction. Although I will say about the glitch in my system, even the smartest people I know can't fix it.
Hey guys, how's it going?
That would be Dr. D. So, Frank, this is what you should tell your friends and family in Arlington Heights who wonder how their property taxes would go up if a TIF is imposed or created to subsidize the Bears Stadium. So this is how they will automatically go up. So I'm going to say this very carefully and very slowly. I'll be happy to repeat it every show so that folks in Arlington Heights understand what I'm talking about. Because right now, Arlington Heights is thinking about allowing the Bears to construct a new football stadium where the Arlington track race course used to be, or still is, but it's now closed. The Bears have purchased the property, at least they have an option to buy the property, and they want to build a domed football stadium there. It's going to cost a lot of money, and my belief is that the Bears will not be the ones paying the ticket to build that new stadium. They'll do it through a combination of sources. One will be they'll slap a tax or a fee on top of the tickets that they sell to their season ticket holders. And so the suckers and saps who go to the Bears games, who pay to go to the Bears games, will be paying for the new stadium. But the major lift, I think, will come from the taxpayers of Arlington Heights through something called a TIF. And the way it works, Arlington Heights residents, is that a TIF district will be drawn probably around, just imagine a TIF district that is completely surrounds the Arlington racetrack. And all the amount of tax dollars that are generated within that district will be frozen. So if that TIF district, if that racetrack right now is paying $100 in property taxes a year, that's all the money that will be going to the schools of Arlington Heights, the town of Arlington Heights, the Park District of Arlington Heights for the next 23 years. All additional taxes that are paid by the property owner, in this case the Bears, in that TIF district will go to constructing the stadium. So that means if the Bears pay $100 this year and their taxes go up because of rising values to $200, that extra $100 in taxes goes to the Bears Stadium. And how does that impact the taxpayers of Arlington Heights? Well, to compensate for the tax dollars they're not getting from that TIF district, Arlington Heights will have to raise its taxes on absolutely everybody else in Arlington Heights. So that's why a TIF is an automatic tax increase, automatic property tax increase. As soon as you withdraw land from the taxing agencies, as soon as the city of Arlington Heights cannot tax the land that the Bears are on any more than they're already taxing it, they got to find the tax money somewhere else. So they'll raise the taxes throughout the city of Arlington Heights. It's an automatic tax hike, ladies and gentlemen. I always call it a surcharge on the property taxes that you pay. So I hope that helps people in Arlington Heights. I got a feeling, like I said, Dee, anytime I explain TIFs to people how they really work, I lose my audience. All right, let's bring that audience back by bringing on the pride and joy of Fenger High School, Southside's own Marc Sims. Welcome back, Marc.
Ben, Dennis, can you hear me? Because I remember one of the times I was on the show, the sound was bad. Is the sound okay?
Sounds great.
I know I bought a new camera just because the sound was so bad in one of your shows. I had to buy a new camera. You know what, Ben, when you were talking about TIFs, I said, my bed is right over here. I said, should I go take a damn nap?
Well, it sounded like you were cutting potatoes or something.
That's what I was doing. I'm peeling potatoes.
Oh, my God, I nailed it.
You nailed it. Ding, 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 ding. I'm peeling a freaking potato. I said, damn, let me just, while he's doing this TIFs thing, I can peel about 10 of these bad boys. Like, damn, that's pretty good. I'm almost done with this one.
Oh, my goodness, Marc, that's hilarious. But that's just a story.
How'd you know, hey, Dennis, how'd you know I was peeling potatoes?
I was like, is this dude peeling potatoes during the opener?
I didn't mean to peel these damn potatoes all day. I said, let me get around to it right now while he's talking about some freaking TIFs.
It's like what my
multitasking.
It's what my grandpa would have done if he were on the Ben Joravsky show waiting to be on.
That's right. That sounds cool. No, Ben, what you want to talk about? Before we went on the air, we didn't mention Ali, man, did we?
No.
And Muhammad Ali and Elijah Muhammad. So whatever you want to talk about, I'm discursive.
That's what you were supposed to talk about.
I'll go all over the highway. So brace yourselves, people, as we go all over the freaking
Oh my
highway.
goodness. Things have changed. The first time when I called Marc about 2 weeks ago, Marc, you got to come on the show. We have to talk about Muhammad Ali because I was utterly obsessed with Muhammad Ali. Having watched, did you watch the 4 parts?
You know, I watch bits and pieces. I'm freaking out because you're gonna bring Adolfo on later on. He's a White Sox fan, and I don't have cable, so I don't think I can see the damn game unless I get some bootleg cable like you do.
Yeah,
okay, hook me up after the show, man. Get that damn bootleg feed.
That's how I watched the Bulls throughout the 90s.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That bootleg streaming, man. I got to get it done now. Come on. So what you want to talk about, Ben?
Well, let's you know, it's funny. Let's do a little Ali talk.
No, I'm reading your article. I hate to cut you off. I was reading your article while you were talking about TIFs. Oh my God! Yeah. And so your article about Muhammad Ali, and you said that you read his autobiography as a kid.
Yes.
When you were in the 70s, in 1970. I mean, I have trouble reading the article now. I had trouble reading your article. You were reading a book in 1975.
Well,
God, you are a geek. A good geek, though.
I am a geek. I'm an obsessive reader, and in the I was an obsessive reader in the 70s, and I read a lot of sports books. And so in 1975, I think it was 1975, Muhammad Ali's autobiography, The Greatest, came out. And it was a book he co-wrote with Richard Durham. And Richard Durham is a great Chicago writer. Marc, I don't know if you ever met Richard Durham or ever read about him, but brilliant man, in my humble opinion. A great writer, a multifaceted writer. And for a while, he was the editor of Elijah Muhammad's newspaper. And that's how he hooked up with Muhammad Ali. But in addition to being a newspaper man, he also wrote TV scripts, and he wrote fiction. So he was just a really talented writer, Richard Durham. A lot of respect for Richard Durham. So when I was about my teens, I read this book, and it had a huge impact on me, Mark Sims. And in this book, Muhammad Ali shows a side of himself that I think has been washed away by popular culture. An outspoken critic of American foreign policy, a very sharp analyst of race relations in this country. And when he talks about boxing, for instance, he kind of draws this metaphor. It's very like in Django. Remember in Django, the scene in Django where the two black slaves are fighting for the delight of Leo DiCaprio to the point of death. Remember that scene? In this book, Muhammad Ali draws that same type of analogy about black men in a ring fighting for the enjoyment of white people, which was a real powerful, in my humble opinion, a real powerful point to make in the 1970s. The book was widely derided, Mark, criticized and critiqued. It was put down, and I think there was a lot of jealousy toward Richard Durham by other journalists who didn't get the contract gig. Just between you and me, Mark, that's what I think was going on. And there's this one anecdote that goes on at length where Muhammad Ali talks about how he threw away his gold medal into the Ohio River because he had not been served at a restaurant in Louisville, his hometown, because he was black. And he said that the gold medal, he didn't want to wear it anymore because it wasn't, the country had shamed him and they wouldn't serve him at a restaurant. So he was no longer going to wear the medal. He threw it in the Ohio River. And in 1996 at the Olympics in Atlanta, when he lit the flame and the torch, he was given a new medal. And it just really irritated me that Bob Costas went on TV when he got the medal and said, there's an apocryphal story that Muhammad Ali threw the medal into the Ohio River at protest, but in fact, he just lost it. I'm like, how are you to say he just lost it? Muhammad Ali, in his autobiography, said he threw it in the river. Who are you to say what Muhammad Ali did with his medal? And so this has been kind of like a issue I've struggled with. You know what I'm saying, Mark? One of my obsessions that you know.
So you're going to go to the Ohio River and go find Muhammad Ali's
I'm going to deep dive it. All right, let me ask you this, Mark. So do you think Muhammad Ali just lost the medal, or do you think he threw it in the river? Go.
I don't know. That was a different. Can you imagine? Because I remember as a kid, he changed his name to Cassius Clay because I thought that was a weird name, Cassius Clay. You know what I'm saying? Then he was Muhammad Ali. Not knowing, like, whatever, 30-something years later, I will call myself Mark X. You know what I'm saying? I had no clue who did. So when I see, I'm going far afield here, when I see parts of the documentary, because I don't have cable, and so I channel surf through PBS sometimes because I don't like commercials, and the documentary is good, and my boy, if you will, our friend Salim Moakil is in the documentary. And Salim Moakil is just brilliant. I just when you know how it's being when you watch a documentary or something, you're like, I know that guy. I've talked to that guy in real life. I mean, I know that that's one of my friends, and that kind of stuff. But the point is that the documentary is a good documentary. People want to see Muhammad Ali, Ken Burns, blah 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 blah. But I always wonder, would Muhammad Ali be the great Muhammad Ali as we know him, or knew him, if you will, if he did not join the Nation of Islam? And that's the same for Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Now, I didn't join the Nation of Islam. I wasn't never in the Nation of Islam. I was just a part of a study group that taught the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. And I didn't want to get sucked in, but I got sucked in. So I understand the whole thing. People call it, some dude on the documentary about Muhammad Ali called the Nation of Islam a cult. But I was like, what is a cult? I mean, what isn't a cult? I go to Costco. Costco's a freaking cult to me, right? People always have when you have a brand like Apple, you want a cult-like following. You know what I'm saying? Not Jim Jones cult. You don't want to go too far, but you want a cult-like following. So you can make. I'm not gonna go too far. I feel the Catholic Church or whatever religion, man. Everybody get hooked in, man. And I got hooked in, but then again, Elijah Muhammad's teaching is so good. Let me give you a taste of Elijah Muhammad's teaching. That's why I got so sucked in. First, he called white folks devils and all that kind of stuff, And I understand that he's from Sandersville, Georgia, which is about a few hours, hour and a half outside of Atlanta. So he's from the South. He's born in 18-something. So you can understand why a guy born in 18-something in Georgia, the old Georgia, if you will, why he called white folks devils. It's a long story, and I'm going to get to the long part of it. But that's how I got sucked into the teachings. One of the things Elijah Muhammad said, and I shouldn't give these kind of stories out, because when I was Mark X, it was just self-proclaimed Mark X. I wasn't part of the nation. I got a call, Ben Jarofsky, from the Nation of Islam, and they told me that X is the exclusive property of the Nation of Islam. Now, I don't know if that's what prompted me to start backing out, and I started phasing out the Mark X, so I don't know what the deal was. But the point was that Elijah Muhammad told his followers, as I remember, this is over 30 years ago, and I was taught this stuff, maybe 27 years to be exact, whatever. He said one of the last tricks the white man would use against the black man to divide and conquer us, if you will. One of the last tricks the white man would use to divide, for the black man, hold the black man down, is to let the black man have his woman, have the white woman. And so, and I don't know what the statistics now. I know that about 20% of black men marry outside the race. I don't know how many of those marry white women. I'm not going to argue against pros and cons against that. But the teaching is like any other teaching or religion. You just like, hey, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and off you go. You call yourself Mark X.
Well,
which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
But the part of the story that I'm going to go back to is, are you telling me that you essentially got what Dennis and I call a cease and desist letter from the Nation of Islam?
No, I never told that story publicly, and I don't want to go any further, but I did get a phone call from the Nation.
Okay. Wow.
Oh yeah, and it was legit. Now, hey, it was legit, and I respect the Nation. Oh yeah. And
right, don't get me back to your question.
There's a picture of me and Louis. I met Louis Farrakhan on 2 occasions. There's a picture of me around there. If I ever ran for political office, they were going to find that picture with me and Louis Farrakhan.
Might hurt your career. All right. So let's go back to your original question, which I will now give my opinion, and then you give yours. You said, so would Muhammad Ali have been as great if he wasn't in the Nation of Islam, and would Malcolm X? And I think it's pretty obvious, deal with Muhammad Ali, that part of the greatness of who he was is definitely linked to the fact that he joined the Nation of Islam, that his mind went in that direction. And listen, and this is what I say. This is why I get so irritated by the throw the metal in the river, this rush, this urgency that journalists feel to deny that story is true. Because the reality is that Muhammad Ali, for white people, and I'm speaking as a white person, was a very scary figure. And the rhetoric he used scared white people. When I was 12 years old, Mark, I was struggling with this. White people are devil. Does that mean I'm a devil? I'm not a devil. I think I'm a good guy,
Ben, you're not a devil. You too, Dennis.
The devil made me do it. We got special exemption from Mark Sims. We're not the devil. All those things, and all the things he said about our country, which were very critical, it makes you think. It's like, it's scary. It's like we're collective guilt. We're all responsible. It's a frightening thing. And so Muhammad Ali, he put this out there. It was like who he was, Mark. And then later on, when he can't speak because he's got Parkinson's, people want to put stuff in his mouth. They want to speak for him. Bob Costas wants to go on NBC and speak for Muhammad Ali. And that really, I'm like, no, that's not honest. That's being deceitful. That's creating this image, this phony image to peddle whatever it is that you want to sell, which Muhammad Ali was rejecting. So yes, I do believe it was a key part of his development that he was in the Nation of Islam. Your thoughts?
And well, this country, I love talking about education and public safety, but in education, we're not taught to think in this country. We're not really taught to think. You know, if you see Elijah Muhammad, you say, how can this guy that can't really speak that well have all of these followers? What did he tell these people? He can't even talk that clearly like a Malcolm X, if you will. He's not articulate as Malcolm X, but he got this people to follow this little bitty man, and he wasn't 6 feet tall. How did he get these people to follow him and wear the suits and the bow ties and the gowns the women wore? What did he say? We don't want to go that far and start contextualizing that. You can say, that's not my cup of tea, without saying, well, he must have said something good to people, otherwise they wouldn't buy into it. You know what I'm saying? And then again, people have to say in the times, 1960, well, Elijah Muhammad died in 75. Even let's go back to 1975. You know, it's a much different Chicago than it was in 1975. You know, it's like in the 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. That town doesn't exist. That country doesn't exist. Things change over a 50-year period, almost 50 years now. Things change over a 50-year period, so you have to put these things in context. But the goal is really to put stuff out there without people really trying to think, because we're not saying wrong or right. It's just, this is just the way it was. Yeah. Can we all agree on that?
All right. By the way,
remember, you weren't old enough to be drafted in the war, were you?
No, I was.
And I was a little kid.
The draft had ended by the time I came draft age.
Well, we talked about it when we were little kids in high school and grammar school. There was, because we knew people were being drafted, if you will. You heard about it, you don't understand it as a little kid. But a lot of people, you imagine right now, just relative to young people, if young people are listening, can you imagine we had a draft right now? First thing you say, how far is Canada? How do I get there? You know what I'm saying? And Muhammad Ali said, I'm not fighting in the war. And they took his crown for 3 years, right?
Yeah. No,
think about that.
I urge people to watch this series just for the one segment where they talk about Ali's opposition to being drafted and the price he paid and the roundabout way it took, the long winding road it took before the country finally, it took a Supreme Court decision. Decided to end the harassment and the persecution of Muhammad Ali. And then almost within a year, the reversal, it's so bizarre, Mark. I mean, Richard J. Daley, the supreme leader of the city of Chicago, just like, you know, the man that people in the city of Chicago would have been electing forever. Probably still would have, if you put him on a ballot right now, he's been dead since 1977, he'd still get elected. So when Muhammad Ali refused to be inducted, this is on the eve of his fight against Ernie Terrell, which was scheduled to be in the city of Chicago. Mayor Daley said, you're not going to fight here in the city of Chicago, you draft dodger. And that began the harassment and the persecution of Muhammad Ali. And Mark, in the documentary, they brought this back. I forgot this. So it was Daley who began it, the outlawing of Muhammad Ali and the inability of him to pursue his career. But after Ali beat Foreman in Zaire, Daley welcomed Ali to Chicago and gave him a medal or some kind of like a plaque or something, like the equivalent of the key to the city. And I was just like, wow, that's how quickly this country decided to forgive Ali, forgive in quotes, like that it should have been the other way around, but because they were tired of the war, they wanted it in the rearview mirror. You get what I'm saying, Mark? And so that kind of
politics. It's politics.
Yeah.
I mean, I was told that Richard J. Daley gave Elijah Muhammad a proclamation of some kind of certificate or something. Okay, so that's, remember, people got to say this is politics. What else you want to yak about before my boy? You know, Adolfo was so good on your show last time, man. He's the man.
Yeah, no.
I just wait for him to curse. I want to say, how long before he started cussing?
All right. So let's get down to what I was going to talk to you about today. And this has really been on my mind. And public safety, of course, is something that Marc Sims has been coming on the show talking about for like as long as I've had the show. So it's been over 2 years. And I quote you all the time, Mark. When I have conversations with people about public safety, I always go, well, as Marc Sims says. So the issue's kind of been personified in this fight of sorts, this political squabble between, hold on, this door is open. Let me just shut this door.
No, before you start talking about shutting the door, listeners who are home, oh, you're coming back then. It was somebody shot and killed like a few blocks from my house, but it wasn't on the TV news. If I wasn't surfing the internet, it was in the Sun Times. CBS 2, it was a CBS 2 thing. If I did not surf the internet, I wouldn't even know somebody was shot and killed. 2 blocks from my house.
When was this?
Go right ahead. The late last month. September.
I remember. I remember when you came on the show and talked about it.
Well, okay, but this is a new one now. This is a new killing. Keep going, Ben.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, and Mark, and the joke is, which I say all the time, when I'm going out for my walk at night, I call Mark. We're talking on the phone. And what are you doing? You're on a walk. I can't walk in my neighborhood. I'm going to come up to your neighborhood and walk. So, Kim Fox, Cook County State's attorney, and Lori Lightfoot had exchange. And Lori Lightfoot, there's a shooting. We talked about this yesterday, day before. It's been in the newspaper. A shooting, a very brazen shooting in Austin over the weekend. Out in the middle of the day, 2 rival groups shooting at each other. And some people were arrested by the police, and the state's attorney refused to press charges because there was no case. Lori Lightfoot essentially went on TV and said, arrest somebody. And this reminded me, Mark, of a very unfortunate column that Mike Royko wrote in the mid-'90s after the building in Oklahoma was blown up. And Mike Royko had really gone to the conservative side in some ways at the end of his career. And he just said, well, it must have been some country in the Middle East, some Muslim country in the Middle East. So just bomb one. It doesn't matter. Pick a country and bomb one. And so when Lori Lightfoot says just arrest somebody, it's like, just arrest somebody. It doesn't matter. Just someone has to pay for this. And Kim Fox is saying, I don't have evidence to prosecute. How could I arrest someone? How could we bring a case against this? Isn't this what we're supposed to be moving away from? Isn't this part of the legacy that we're supposed to be evolving from? And I'm struggling with this one, Mark, because it seems like most of the people in the city of Chicago are on Lori Lightfoot's side of this issue. Just arrest somebody. How do you see this?
I think I don't know the mayor. I believe she's sincere. I think Kim Fox is sincere, but the mayor's playing politics. Well, because you have to. Because people are like, hey, they're shooting people downtown. As long as they're shooting out there in Mark Sims' neighborhood on the far south side, we'll just watch that on the TV news. But when they start shooting down, or they had a shooting. They're all downtown. They shooting left to right, River North, whatever. They shooting left to right, Lakeshore Drive. Ken Griffin, your buddy Ken Griffin, the billionaire. He's upset. He's going to move. But I read today, which I didn't know on Wikipedia. He's from Boca Raton. I mean, he's Daytona Beach, Boca Raton. He's a Chicagoan now. He's been here since 40 years. But the point is that he ain't grew up here. You know what I'm saying? And people like me. I'm sorry, we got to one up y'all. We grew up here. And when I'm saying Ken Griffin understands that he's smart enough, he's a few years younger than me. He understands that if you want to stop crime, you have to help people freaking read. Give them a skill. If they can read, you will taught them how to learn something, how to freaking read, a vocational skill. They're not going to take a gun and shoot people left or right for the hell of it. It's just not going to happen. But people like Ken Griffin, they don't want to spend the upfront. I'm assuming Ken Griffin. I don't know who I never met the man. People like him are not going to spend the upfront money on teaching somebody how to freaking read, and then you could stop the crime, give them vocational training, and we won't have this. You're always gonna have some crime. You won't have this ridiculous crime we're having now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And by the way, Adolfo Mondragon has joined us. What a power lineup. Marc Sims, Adolfo Mondragon. This is one of the greatest lineups of all time. So Adolfo, we're talking about Kimberly Fox. I keep calling her, I don't know why I'm calling her Kimberly Fox, because there's a lot of Kimberlys in my Kim Fox and Lori Lightfoot and their debate. And Mark, listen, you talk about the politics of it. This is Ken Griffin, just so everybody understands, is a Republican. He's one of the wealthiest men in the state, and he spends his dollars investing them into Republican candidates and Republican causes in order to preserve his fortune. So when he, for instance, bankrolled opposition to the Fair Tax Initiative, which would have raised the rates on the wealthiest people in the state of Illinois, he was protecting his income from taxes. That's what he did. And people in the city of Chicago bought the argument that he put out there, and they voted against the fair tax, even though effectively they were raising their taxes by voting against raising Ken Griffin's taxes. Ken Griffin must have been laughing his ass off at you people in the city of Chicago who voted on who followed his stupid commercials that you bought into. And now, by the way, he says he's going to go after the pensions. I love this. I told you guys, you pensioners on the Northwest and the Southwest side is going to do it. But anyway, Mark, similarly, he realizes the ticket for the Republicans to win is to play the law and order card. So now he's going around saying that Chicago's the most dangerous city in the country, even though despite the carnage that happens in Chicago, it's actually not. And even though he has he's never made up, like you just said, Mark, never made an effort in any systematic way
that I know of either. He bankrolled the bike lanes. He paid for bike lanes on the parks. I don't want him.
He
put his name on the Museum of Science and Industry, which is fine. And I don't want to cut you off. It's just that I don't have a problem with Ken Griffin because we need billionaires in the city. We need their money. We need their expertise. I get all of that. We don't want them to run like Bruce Rauner did. Once he lost the governorship, he ran back to Florida. Right?
Let me ask you this.
We don't need that.
I'm going to challenge you with this, and then we're going to bring Adolfo in. We need billionaires in the city of Chicago. If we're not taxing them, what difference does it make if a billionaire lives in Chicago? If we're not taxing them to the full tilt to get the full benefits of their money.
I'm playing politics, okay? Come on, Ben. You know what I'm doing. I'm playing a game here. It's like Lori Lightfoot. She understands for Lori Lightfoot to lose, you need a law and order candidate in Chicago, a Democrat, to beat her. What's the guy who ran the gentleman won in New York? What's his name? Can't think of his name. He was a police officer or something, right? The new mayor of New York. His will be the new mayor of New York. Can't think of his name. Oh. But you're going to beat Lori Lightfoot, you have to have a law. Adam what?
Eric Adams.
Yeah, Eric Adams. To beat Lori Lightfoot, you need a law and order candidate for mayor. I mean, if somebody, I like Lori Lightfoot. I would vote for her now if the election was. You had a candidate say, Mark, we're going to fund education properly the way you like it and teach people how to read. I throw Lori Lightfoot under the bus. But Lori Lightfoot she's smart. She understands that most people lock them up. And part of me says, lock them up. People have to be held accountable. Lock them up.
All right.
Sounds mean, Ben, but hey, remember, Ben, you don't live out here in the hood.
Okay.
And a lot of people listening to the show don't live. I ain't mean it like that, but a lot of folks, they don't. I mean, I ain't gonna tell you what, you know how I live, but I'm in the neighborhood every day. And I'm telling you, you gotta roll through parts of Roseland right now. Your skin will crawl. Your hair, if you have hair, I don't have much hair, your hair will go up in the freaking air.
All right, let's bring
Adolfo knows. He's a South Side. He understands what's going on.
Adolfo, let's bring you on. Adolfo's here to talk about a victory.
Well, let me say that there's a good grain of truth to what Mark says in that. Look, I read these articles in the Reader and other places that talk about how the carjacking rate is not related to gang warfare or gang whatever and this and that. And then I don't know, I haven't looked through and seen through the statistics that they're looking at, and there may be some truth to what they're saying. But I've been both in the Ivy Tower, literally, and also I live in the street like Mark. And when you're in the Ivy Tower and you're writing, looking at statistics and stuff, you can say, oh no, it's not gangs, it's not this, it's not that. But when you live in the neighborhood tells you a little bit different than whatever they're writing about in the statistics. So I tend to give a lot of credibility to the reports like that in the Reader and Trib and other areas, that are saying that there's no correlation. But I don't know if there's no correlation, because I live in the neighborhood, man. Look, just yesterday, my nephews were coming out of school, and there was a drive-by shooting that one of the parents was parking, and some car took a shot at the guy. He didn't. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt, but there was kids out in the playground. 30 minutes later, I get a citizen thing that in not too far away from there, in a couple neighborhoods, 3 blocks from my sister's house, the same mom who was picking up those 2 nephews, some guy got shot 3 blocks from her house. This was like 40 minutes after there was almost a shooting at the kids' school as they were bringing them up. So again, I have one foot in one world and one foot in the other, and I got to tell you, sometimes when you're a little too much in the ivory tower, you got to come down to the neighborhood and look at it from our perspective too. And I'm not all full blown, and I'm not supporting Lori Lightfoot's just put anyone in jail. Fuck that. But I too have moments where I'm like, lock people up, because I can't walk around my neighborhood, which used to be a beautiful neighborhood, and without worrying about getting shot. And so it's sad.
All right, so let's talk about that. Lock people up. In within one sentence, Adolfo, you contradicted yourself.
I did. I don't want people being locked up without due process. That's why I disagree with Lori Lightfoot. She's taking a kind of fascist position. Just put someone in jail so we could, scapegoat the fuck out of this issue. No. I know that Kim Foxx doesn't want bad people out on the streets. And you got to remember, she's a prosecutor. Fuck, she's by nature, she's conservative. So, I understand. But she wants to, unlike the ugly past of that office, she understands that she's got to do it better. And now for a bunch of reasons, but particularly because the black community is the one that takes the brunt of this shit, with unlawful arrests and searches and unjust convictions. And maybe they're on the margins. Maybe there's more than on the margins of these cases. But whatever the situation may be, there should be we should try to have no cases where there are people who are unlawfully arrested and convicted on the thinnest of evidence. So, look, I understand the urge to get accountability, but I don't want to be accountability at any cost. No, it has to be done right. But it's tough when you're living on the street. It's tough. And I understand that policing is difficult and investigations are difficult, but man, I think in this day and age, everyone is just like, well, I can't go do anything. I can't, cops are. I can't do my job because there's anti-cop sentiment. You got to work through that shit, dude, and got to get the job done.
Yeah,
sorry.
I know this is an issue that's easily scapegoated and played politically. Rex Hupke, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Adolfo or Marc, the columnist for the Tribune, wrote a pretty good column today. I urge you guys to read it if you haven't already.
I haven't yet.
But he just broke down some of the rhetoric that had been put out there by various politicians in the city of Chicago, where they say these proclamations. And these are politicians, Adolfo, who don't even live in tough neighborhoods where there's high crime, like you live in or Marc lives in. But they're like, the rhetoric that Ken Griffin uses, this is the most dangerous city in the country, and it's never been this bad. And I mean, you're just throwing poison out there. And listen, there's something really seriously wrong with the fact that there could be open gunfight in the middle of the day in the city of Chicago, and somehow or other, no one's arrested because the police, nobody will testify against the shooters in any way. So that's part of the problem, Adolfo and Marc. You read the same stories I do. And there's no evidence they got. So, yeah, it is really frustrating that there could be open gunfire in the city. But
the real problem being is people want short-term solutions, which is lock them up. I get that. But long-term is boring. Long-term is teaching people how to read, giving them a skill, vocational skill, giving them mentors and tutors. See, that's the long-term. That's what really works. But you may not see the effects of that for another 5 years or so. You know what I'm saying? Here's a little secret. The crime is going to, because demographics is not destiny all the time. Because of demographics of the city, the crime is going to go down. Believe it or not, it really is. But we just wanted to go down. Well, if I was Lori Lightfoot, I want to go down next year so I can win re-election.
Yeah, that would. By the way, the issue of crime statistics, they're so manipulated all the time. It's like,
oh yeah, everyone does. Everyone fudges the numbers, right? I mean, particularly, the cops as an institution fudge the numbers all the time.
But the real stories were like Adolfo. Adolfo's talking about real people being shot. I'm in the neighborhood. You know what I do for a living, I'm out here driving around doing my thing, and it's you just have to live with it because you don't know when something jump off. You hope you don't get shot. That's all that happened. They're not going to shoot at you, but you don't want to get shot, get in the crossfire. But I lost my train of thought. But the main thing is that we can stop this, but we have to have a sane, long-term solution, and it can be done. But people don't, people, I don't want to hear a long-term solution. No, you can do it. See, Adolfo went to public schools. I went to public schools. I didn't do as well as Adolfo. He did very well at school.
Yeah, he did really
but I had very good parents. And that's why I'm not a criminal. It's very simple. We can stop this, but look, and I blame some of Lori's people. I think she has good people. I think she doesn't have enough good people. And so she doesn't have enough good people to. Here's a little story. And you can cut me off. Adolfo, got to talk about the White Sox before I go. But the main thing, I want to say this. The lady on Erica Sargent on Channel 2, she had a great report. She interviewed some young people who were carjacking, and it humanized these young teenagers who are carjackers. People forget the people who commit crime in Chicago, most of them, if not all, went through the Chicago public schools, and they are human beings. So sometimes you should ask them, why are you committing crimes? And let's try to figure out how to stop you and future generations from committing crimes. This can be done.
All right. Before we get to the White Sox, and I do have a little trick in store for Adolfo, who is a real serious Chicago White Sox fan. And is already getting ready to he's wearing his White Sox hat, ladies and gentlemen, and he's getting ready to root for the White Sox against Houston. Tony La Russa versus Dusty Baker. Man, you can't make this stuff up. I'm excited too. But before we get to that, we got to talk about Mark Sims. You got to hear this one. Adolfo Mondragon, dear friend of the Ben Joravsky Show, had a big victory. Lawyer Adolfo Mondragon had a big victory that caught me off guard, ladies and gentlemen. I did not predict this was going to happen.
I didn't predict it was going to happen.
And so this has to do with what I call the Danny Solis case. Where Adolfo has been coming on my show, Adolfo, many times, talk about this. Is it an injustice? It's corruption. The loophole in the law that allows politicians, elected officials, like Danny Solis, former alderman of the 25th Ward, to use the campaign contributions that they raise from their donors for their criminal. Oh, right. Mark Sims just put on his White Sox hat. But they get to use the campaign funds that they raise from their donors to pay their criminal defense fees. And Adolfo was the one who enlightened me. Maybe at about a White Sox game, we were sitting in there. We should sometimes bring a microphone to our White Sox games. We really have some good conversations. And it could have been that. I don't know when it was, but you were the one who enlightened me to this one, Adolfo. You're going, it's not right. It should be illegal. And then you did something about it. So talk about what you did and what happened last week with the state Supreme Court. Go.
So it's not actually a loophole. It's I argue that the law has always prohibited this practice. It's just that no one ever complains about it, and so it just goes unchallenged. And then that gets complacency, and before you know it, people are abusing of the system. And so a couple of summers ago, the Sun-Times and the Tribune started reporting about how Madigan and Burke and Solis and other people who are getting in trouble with the federal government in federal investigations and/or being formally charged with crimes of public corruption, were dipping into their political campaigns, and not taking a dollar or two here, but millions of dollars to pay for premier law firms to defend them against very serious accusations of public corruption, and having run for office and also represented candidates for election, I'm a little bit familiar with the election code and the Campaign Disclosure Act, and I thought to myself, this is not allowed. If you can't even take money from your campaign to get a haircut or buy yourself a suit, how the hell can you reason that you could take millions of dollars and take that for to pay for your personal defense, not lawyers to get you on the ballot or to kick your rival off the ballot or to do something related to the campaign. This is money used solely for your own, for your own purposes, right? To keep yourself out of jail. How is it that that's any different from using money to get yourself a personal haircut or a personal suit or a car or a home or a gym membership, which is all explicitly prohibited by the Campaign Disclosure Act? But there's also language that, you can't use these for personal debts. And I said, well, paying an attorney to defend you from allegations of corruption or any criminal charges, to me, is a personal debt. So I went to I knew that this practice had to be challenged, but I needed a plaintiff because I wasn't going to be a plaintiff on this thing, and I went to Byron Cisco Lopez, who had just beaten Danny Solis, and Danny Solis was one of the people taking huge amounts of campaign money to defend himself, and I said, Byron, this is illegal. And I believe, I read the law, this is illegal, and it's a practice that is just, people assume is correct, but it's not, and it's wrong for both on a legal basis, but also ethically and morally. This is wrong. This is hypocritical. This is adding insult to the injury that politicians give to the public when they abuse their office. This is adding salt to the wound, because now you're giving politicians an incentive to push the envelope of bad behavior, because they know somewhere that they have an insurance. They have a big honeypot of money waiting there to hire great lawyers to either extend an investigation or whatever, or a trial, and just wear the government down to a point where they could either get away with it or they can mitigate their circumstances and almost get away with it by just slapping the hand or something. And thankfully, Byron was very brave and he signed on, because some of his advisors were very against it. And we filed with the Board of Elections. Now, what we have to understand is that for these kind of challenges, you have to expect to lose right away at the beginning. And Ben, you more than anyone told me, like, particularly, not only are you going to lose, but who are you going against, and in what city and what town, and and against what practice? You're going to lose virtually all the way if you're going to, and I expected to lose at the board, and I did. I didn't expect. I had hopes that maybe at the Court of Appeals I would win, but I didn't. But they framed the issue in such a way that it gave me an opportunity to seek an appeal at the Illinois Supreme Court. And I had a conversation with you, Ben, when I filed it, because I almost didn't file it. Many people don't know. I talked to Byron, and he said, you do what you need to do. This is all pro bono, by the way. So this is my labor, right? That's free. And why would I give myself more work if only 5% of these appeals get approved, right? And but I thought there was something here. I filed the appeal, and Ben, you told me, ironically, if they were to grant your appeal at the Supreme Court, you'd probably have a way better chance of winning there than you did at the board, than you did at the first appellate district. You might actually, but the rub is you got to get it there, and lo and behold, we got it there. So we're gonna have our day in court.
I think it's great, and I give you a lot of credit, and shout out to Alderman Byron Sixer Lopez for putting his name on there, folks. You have no idea how many currents he's swimming against, because Danny Solis is relatively low on the totem pole. He is a former alderman of the 25th Ward, but two of the biggest powerhouses in Illinois politics stand to lose if Adolfo prevails. Follow me on this, folks. Former House Speaker Michael Joseph Madigan, who's running up quite a criminal defense bill because he's been the subject of investigations from the feds in the Commonwealth Edison scandal. So he could potentially be affected by this if the Supremes agree with Adolfo that this is this is not a correct use of campaign financing. And of course, Alderman Ed Burke, the former all-powerful chairman of the Council Finance Committee, ran a property tax business on the side. He too could be affected. So you're asking, when Byron Sixer Lopez put his name on Adolfo's lawsuit, they were up against the powerhouse elite of the Democratic Party. And a lot of other Democratic chieftains are also thinking, I want to dip into this campaign money if I get in trouble. So I guarantee you that Ed Burke's a lot more popular with aldermen in the city of Chicago than Adolfo Mondragon is, or Byron Sixer Lopez. It's like Serpico, ladies and gentlemen, if I could go back. This is going back in time. A great movie with Al Pacino. Adolfo knows what I'm talking about because he's seen it. And maybe Mark Sims has seen it as well. Where Al Pacino played Frank Serpico, a police officer in New York City who dared to testify about corruption, that he saw blatant corruption. And he was the one who was treated like a pariah, Adolfo. He not the corrupt guy. He was. And so when you go up against the powers that be in this state and take away this sugar daddy deal they got, you're not going to make any friends, Adolfo.
Well, I guess that's the case all the time when you're in this city fighting against the fighting against City Hall, as they say. I will tell you though that I think among the public, I would bet that the winds of change are in our favor. I think that if you ask anybody on the street if this is something that should be allowed, this practice of taking that money, I think most people would agree with my lawsuit, Byron's lawsuit, and say that that no, of course not. This is, like I said, this is insult to injury. This is a hypocrisy, on top of a hypocrisy. So I think that I would dare guess that the average citizen is probably behind this, and I think it's common sense. And because we've argued that it's always been the law, this is the way it should have been read from the beginning. Like you said, it does have consequences for others, because this complaint is only against Danny Solis's committee and Danny Solis's use of $220,000 to pay his lawyers. But because we're arguing that this has always been the law, this is not a new interpretation of the law or a new rule or anything. This is the way it's always been. That means that anyone, even if they've done it in the past, not going forward only, because that's what they would like to argue. They'd like to say, well, no, this is something new, and we didn't know, and what we were doing was legal, but now we know, and moving forward, we won't do this. No. What I'm arguing is this has always been the law, and because it hasn't been challenged before, people have gotten away with it, but they should have known better. And so if we win, hopefully not only does it affect Danny, but then other people could start filing complaints against all the other people. And it's beyond Madigan and Burke too. I mean, you have Kerry Austin who's doing this. Before he passed away, you had State Senator Sandoval who did this. I think they sometimes said that Thompson has not done this, but there are many others out there that are in trouble. What is it? There's Cook County rep Tabinski, what's his name?
Oh, from the southwest side. Oh,
Yeah,
southwest suburbs.
yeah,
Yes,
he's in trouble with the feds too, and I think he might have dipped into that campaign money. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one, but my point is that not only will it prevent this from happening in the future, but hopefully it'll have all these people who are currently doing it and have done it in the past have to give back this money that they've taken from the public trust, and used to get away with their alleged wrongdoings.
And I think at this point we have to mention the Burke factor. It has an potential impact, this lawsuit, on Alderman Ed Burke, who has an enormous reserve of campaign funds. The guy who really knew how to squeeze people for money, that's for certain. But his wife, Ann Burke, is on the state Supreme Court. So as I understand it, Adolfo, she's already announced that she will not participate in this on the deliberations. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Indeed, in order to get the petition allowed in that process, she and Justice Tice, I forget how you pronounce it, they both recused themselves, and which I'm very grateful for, and because it's their discretion. And I always said when I filed it that I hope that they see that because there are implications, that in order for there to be not even an appearance of any wrongdoing or bias or whatever, that they would take their discretion and recuse themselves. And I've been a fan of Justice Burke because, as a former appellate defender, she's always been very good and understanding in constitutional cases involving criminal convictions and in other issues as well. She's been a good justice, and she remains one. But for this case, I think that it was the correct move to recuse herself and not be involved, because we don't want any appearance at all of any wrongdoing in this. And let the chips fall where they may. And on the merits of this case, I'm hopeful that the remaining members of the Supreme Court that do hear this case on the merits, will see that we're right. That this is just common sense. This is the way you read the plain language of the statute. It prohibits these personal debts, and the appellate court said, and this is the rub of the appeal. The appellate court ruled and said, yes, I agree with you, Adolfo. This section of this Campaign Disclosure Act does prohibit the use of campaign money for personal debts, such as if you were to hire an attorney to represent you in a DUI, or such as if you were to hire an attorney to represent you in a closing or a divorce, I think they said. But then it made the unreasonable distinction of saying, but if you hire an attorney to defend you against criminal charges against corruption, that's okay, because the FEC on the federal level, which is a complete different system, says that that's okay. And so we're going to deviate from the plain language and make this exception because the federal government does this for congressmen, so it's okay. We're gonna adopt that saying. And by doing that, they've just overstepped the bounds of the state legislature, because only the state legislature can say we're going to follow the federal law. What if the state doesn't agree with them? And in fact, the FEC has ruled on some of these issues in a very different manner than the State Board of Elections and its practices have shown. So there's a huge problem, and that's what has allowed us, thankfully, to get the appeal, because what they did was a no-no, and they know it, and it's such a grave error that it gave us a way in to the Supreme Court.
All right. Well, I'm through with making predictions in this case. You've already proved me wrong by getting this far, so congratulations for that. Not proving me wrong necessarily.
No, thanks. And it means a lot, Ben, because one, I don't know if you know, but Latinos in the as attorneys in this country, we only represent something like 3% of attorneys in this country. Okay, African Americans, I think, are just right around like 2-something%, and we were in the population, we represent a far greater share, and so in other words, there are very few of us who, one, even have a law license, let alone have the resources to work at a place that could teach you the skills to even take on cases like this. And God knows I've been I started working for the government as an appellate defender and learned a lot there. And then I've been in private practice for the last 10 or so years or more, actually more. And have, done it the hard way without the resources of some lofty law firm. And so it's incredibly tough to fight City Hall, right? Even if you are in a big fancy law firm. Two, to be a minority who's out there on their own with very few colleagues who you can rely on to give you guidance and advice, and then to take on a case like this and actually get it to the point where you'll get a hearing at the highest level and it doesn't, and that doesn't escape me. So I do thank you for the congratulations, because this is a really tough thing to do for anyone, but it's much tougher if you're a person of color in this game. And so, that doesn't mean I'm going to win, right? But I'm going to give it my darndest, and I'm hopeful that I will win. But just to get it here has been such a challenge, and this is all, like I said, it's all pro bono, brother. It's all it's all because I think that this is something that that the public deserves someone fighting for them on this front, and hopefully we'll come out on top.
Let's put it this way: you make as much money representing, spending all that time fighting the injustice of the state of Illinois, working on that court, on that legal battle. You make as much money doing that as you do appearing as a guest on the Ben Joravsky Show.
That's why I don't even get a tote bag or anything, right?
And Mark Sims could tell you that too. All right. You mentioned Latinos, so let's close with this. Mark and I have already talked about this a little bit, and we'll bring you.
Oh, nice segue. Yeah, I know what you're going to talk.
Beloved Chicago White Sox will be playing Houston very soon in the game one of the playoffs. Mark's got his hat on, and Adolfo has his hat on. I'm wearing my Bulls hat. Had I known it'd be this White Sox theme, I would have brought my White Sox hat out. So there was a great article in the New York Times, which I sent to you, and I've talked about already, that talked about the Latino culture in the Chicago White Sox clubhouse. And then I, coincidentally, at the same time, you weren't on the show, and I said this, Adolfo. I got a text from Frank, a dear listener of the show, talking about I forget how many governors it was, Republican governors went down to the border with Texas Governor Greg Abbott to talk about how we need to reinforce our border and protect America from these invading hordes. And one of the governors who was there was a gentleman named Ricketts, Pete Ricketts, who's the governor of Nebraska and part of the Ricketts Consortium that runs the Cubs. So on one hand, we had this contrast within one day that blew my mind. One hand, you have an article talking about the great culture and of diversity and everybody getting along, brotherhood in the White Sox clubhouse, where you have players from all over Central America, all over Latin America coming in to Chicago, Cuba, the Dominican, Venezuela, et cetera, and so forth. And they all get along. And God bless you, Tony La Russa, for getting the right kind of culture, encouraging it. He got a lot. The manager has something to do with it. And then over there on the north side of Chicago, the Chicago Cubs are owned by a man who goes to the border with other hating Republican governors. Stay out. Unless you can play baseball, maybe we'll let you come in. What a contrast, huh, Adolfo? It's enough to make anybody reject the Cubs and become a White Sox fan.
Well, like I've told you in the past, I grew up, when I was a kid, I rooted for both teams. And sincerely loved both teams, 83, 84, 88, et cetera. But as a grown-up, it was hard to go to Wrigley, man. It's just hard because you don't see people like myself there a lot, and then I get treated very badly with the pretext of, it's just Josh, a White Sox fan, but there's really a lot of other shit underneath that. And then for it to go from the fanhood, or some of the fanhood, because not all Cub fans are bad, obviously. I know a lot of great Cub fans. to the management, to, you know, and then even the, you know, this used to be a team that had Sammy Sosa and, you know, other great Latin ball players too. And just for, you know, at the top levels of this organization to have this, you know, representation of this hate, it's just amazing to me. And that, you know, I was commenting to my friend David the other day. We went to the last weekend for the White Sox, and you know, it's so nice to see different shades of colors of people coming out of that ballpark. Because I know when I go to Wrigley, it's just homogenous, man. It's like one color, and that's that. And so it's good to see it on the field. It's good to see it in the stands. It's good to see that management down on the South Side is very open to different cultures. In fact, if you notice the jerseys, a lot of the guys in the White Sox were the first to put their accents on them before the MLB started adopting that as a general thing for all ball clubs. I think the White Sox were the first to get interpreters for the Spanish-speaking players before it became kind of a league-wide type of thing. So, you know, it's really good to see that at least with one team in this.
No,
time.
man, I just got to say that I'll move off from this real fast, but baseball is so weird. So when we started getting, for years, there'd be Spanish-speaking guys come in. They'd be on their own, no interpreters. You know, then the first guy come from Japan or Korea, they get their own interpreter. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, weird culture baseball. All right, now wait, before we go, we got this great Marc, I'm going to put Adolfo. He doesn't know I'm about to do this to him. Put him on the hot seat. Let's see how he does on this. So this is White Sox Latino trivia with Adolfo Mondragon, and so these are the great Latino stars on the Chicago White Sox, and so I'm going to name their names, and then you tell me what country they come from. So do you know your Chicago White Sox Latino?
All right, go ahead.
And I'm just going to leave this to Adolfo because I'm not sure Marc could pass this test. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Moncada.
Moncada.
Excuse me. Moncada,
he's Cuban, baby. He's Cubano.
Yes, very good. Yohan is his first. How do you pronounce his first name?
Yohan. Kind of like Johan, but Yohan.
You gave me a whole lecture on that name once at White Sox. Remember that?
Yeah.
Eloy Jimenez.
Eloy Jimenez is from the República Dominicana, Dominican.
Very good. He's 2 for 2, Mark Sims. Luis Robert, La Pantera. He's from Cuba. Wow, he's 3 for 3, ladies and gentlemen. Jose Abreu.
Oh, Jose Abreu is from Cienfuegos in Cuba.
Damn it.
And Robert is from Guantanamera. He's from Guantanamera, Cuban.
All right, yeah, here we go. Grandal. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, Grandal is from. I'm blinking out here. Hold on a second. Let's skip Grandal and. Yasmani, right? Yasmani Grandal. He was born in Havana, Cuba. So
very good.
Cuban.
I thought you would trip on that. Cesar Hernandez.
Cesar Hernandez is from Venezuela.
Very good. Carlos Rodon.
Carlos Roldan is born in the U.S. but of Cuban parents.
Unbelievable. What state was he born in?
He was born in Florida, but he was raised in North Carolina.
I think he was born in North Carolina.
Okay, he was born in North Carolina.
Lopez. Reynaldo Lopez.
Oh, Reynaldo Lopez is. This is where he's Dominican.
Very good. And
yeah.
Jose Ruiz.
Ruiz. He's like Ozzie Guillen. He's Venezuelan.
Unbelievable. And now we'll close with this one. What high school did Marc Sims go to?
Oh, shit.
You Marc just did the whole White Sox. Now you got Marc Sims.
CBS? I don't know.
No.
Outside of Chicago.
You never heard of Finger High School. But see, I
want no chance.
Adolfo, I watch your because I don't have cable. I don't even know how to even watch the TV, White Sox today. I was a real White Sox fan when I was a kid. You know, I used to watch Dick Allen go to the games at the old ballpark back in the day. And I was there in '83 when I scaled down the outfield wall and ran out onto the field. There's pictures of that, not me on it, but you can, I'm in there somewhere. Ran out into the field at old White Sox Park in '83.
Wow.
But Ransdorf stole my love of baseball when he threatened to move to St. Petersburg, Florida. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I still root for the White Sox with 3 games this year, which is phenomenal for me. And I like watching Adolfo's videos when you're at the game. So many games, I see your stuff. But I'm a fan. But Ransdorf has always done. I'm not saying anything bad about Ransdorf, although he stole my love of baseball once as a kid, but the point in a young adult. But he's always had international players on his team. He's got, was it Mr. Hendricks is from Australia or something, right? The relief pitcher, Hendricks?
Yeah, Liam Hendricks is
He's from Australia. So remember, your beloved Bulls, Ben, he's always gotten international players for that fan base and the merchandising base. I'm not saying he's a shrewd, smart businessman, which he is, but the point is that I have to give him credit for having such
and the Sox also have a history of getting, in particular, Cuban players. From Minoso to Carrascal was Venezuelan, I think, and then just in the last generation of White Sox, you had Contreras pitching, El Duque was from Cuba. Alexi Ramirez, Cuban.
I remember Aparicio was a kid, okay, going way back. But the point is that I'm getting over here to the chain of thought. The bottom line is that when I was a kid, that's how I remember now. When I was a kid, I saw Roberto Clemente, and I saw his black man speaking Spanish. And I was, it's in the 70s, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and I didn't know the history. And to this very day, I think a lot of people still don't. You see the Latin players, but what does that mean? How they got to be Latin players? Where did those original families come from? Like, a lot of blacks were, guess what, slaves. And the Spaniards came over here and conquered this part of the world. So they don't really tell that whole history. So you say, so I was confused by seeing this black man speaking Spanish. There's probably still people today who see that and they're not still teaching that history. And you have to go into slavery and white supremacy, I understand, and colonization. But we should do that and embrace what's happening now.
Yeah. Well, that's well put. By the way, Mark, I got to tell you, it was a great riff. I went through the same thing with Jerry Reinsdorf. In the 80s, when he played that, we're a little older than Adolfo, so he doesn't remember.
Just a few
years. But Jerry Reinsdorf, he sort of extorted the state of Illinois and Harold Washington, the city of Chicago, by threatening to move to Florida, and got the state and the city to commit to publicly financing.
I got a great deal. The deal was the sweetest deal ever.
Sweetheart deal. And so,
great deal.
But he's been here for so long that I've come to appreciate Jerry Reinsdorf, in particular, because compared to the other owners in this town, he's been freaking saint. And so I'm with you, Mark. When you were going on that riff, I was like, oh my God.
But people have to tell the history, because I was doing Uber, I would take people to Addison, Illinois, and I said that White Sox were supposed to move to Addison. But people in Addison don't know that. If you're young kids, you don't know that. So and I love my White Sox. I hope they be here forever, as long as I'm living. If they move to Vegas or play half, they're like, ironically, the Tampa Bay team is talking about playing half their games in Montreal or something. But the White Sox play half their games in Vegas. If they move to Vegas or move to Charlotte, I'll still be a White Sox fan. But there's no guarantee of the future. I'm a White Sox fan, not like Adolfo. He's a big fan. But I tell you, Adolfo, it was a magical moment when the White Sox just clinched the division in '83. As I
was 9. I was 9 years old, dude. I remember Julio Cruz crossing the plate and the sirens going off at night too.
Yes, it was. But that was a different era. And I wish I was still early 20s, I think. And I wish I still had that fire I did back then. But when the White Sox won the World Series a few years ago, and there's a picture of me, I'm going to send to you, Ben, I'll send to you, Adolfo, a picture of me at Arlington Park with the White Sox trophy. So Reinsdorf, I give Reinsdorf some love because he did win the World Series. And I don't know about this team, but they have what it takes, but they've never really played together the entire season. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen.
By the way, there was a funny bit in the New York Times article, which I urge everybody to read. It's a great article. It's an uplifting article. First of all, Tim Anderson, as I said this earlier, the shortstop for the White Sox, the only Black American on the team, talking about how much he has in common culturally with the the Latinos, and he goes, they're black guys too. And it was just like what Mark was like.
Well, people are people. When you meet people, people are people.
Yeah, and then, but Liam Hendricks was funny. He goes, "We're all island people," because he's from Australia. We're all island people.
Right.
That's hilarious.
So go White Sox.
I mean, go White Sox. I want to hold this new World Series trophy. I can almost taste it.
And by the way, before we leave, a little shout out to the Chicago Sky. I'm totally aboard.
Oh, that's right.
The bandwagon, Candace Parker.
We're the City of Champions. City of Champions.
City of Champions, and my beloved Bulls. Right?
I don't know.
Get
City
ready.
of Champions.
Get on
ready.
that bandwagon. They're ready to go.
All right, guys. The game has started. 0-0. The 1-2-3 in the top of the first. Now Altuve is at bat. So anyway, hopefully Lynn will have a great turn it around because he's had a bad record against the Astros, but I think he's going to turn it around today. And tomorrow Gio's going to get them. But anyway, thanks for letting me come on, and we'll talk soon, Ben.
All right, that's Adolfo Mondragon, Mark Sims. Thank you very much. I'll let everybody go and watch their White Sox game. I also want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom this show would be possible. And as Adolfo, Mark, and Tony La Russa will tell you, back home at Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
That is correct. That is correct.
In the words of the Nielsen CEO, quote, Chicago is a really good place to have a corporate headquarters.